Last time, in part 1, you saw me lost deep in Yellowstone's frozen wilderness as night fell. With wolves howling closer and closer, I had no tent, no gun, just a multi-tool and whatever the forest gave me. I raced against the cold to build a thorn-reinforced debris shelter. A fortress of branches, sharp hawthorn barriers, hidden fire, and pine smoke to mask my scent. I thought it might buy me some time, but I had no idea what was coming. Because as soon as darkness swallowed the forest, the wolves stopped howling and started hunting. Tonight, in part 2, you're going to see their glowing eyes appear just feet away. Feel the tension as they test my defenses all night long, and find out if this one bushcraft hack actually held, or if everything went horribly wrong. If you're new here from part 1, welcome. Smash that subscribe button and hit the bell right now, because this night siege is about to get insane. Let's dive in. The night siege, first contact, predator deterrence, and maintaining vigilance. The fire crackles softly in its shallow pit, throwing dancing shadows across the thorn-laced walls of the shelter. Alex sits cross-legged, ferro rod in one hand, a stout branch in the other, his improvised club if things get too close. The pine smoke hangs thick in the confined space, stinging his eyes but serving its purpose. Outside, the forest has gone unnaturally quiet. That silence is worse than the howls. It means the wolves are no longer announcing themselves. They're hunting. Minutes stretch into what feels like hours. Then it begins, the first deliberate approach. A low huff of breath just beyond the thorn barrier, followed by the unmistakable crunch of paws testing the snow. Alex freezes, every sense dialed to maximum. He peers through a small gap he'd intentionally left in the thorns for observation. Two glowing eyes reflect the firelight. Amber, unblinking, calculating. A large gray wolf stands less than 10 feet away, head lowered, nostrils flaring as it samples the air. Behind it, darker shapes shift between the trees. The rest of the pack, flanking and watching. I hope you subscribed the channel and liked the video. For my hard word, survival warning. Never turn your back on a predator, and never show fear through erratic movement. Alex knows this instinctively. He locks eyes with the lead animal, not aggressively but firmly, and slowly raises his arms to make himself appear larger within the confines of the shelter. At the same time, he feeds another handful of green needles to the fire. A fresh plume of aromatic smoke rolls out the entrance, directly into the wolf's face. The animal recoils slightly, shaking its head, then circles to the side, probing for weakness. This is the true test of the shelter hack Alex built. The wolf noses closer to the thorn perimeter, testing with a cautious paw. Instantly, thorns snag fur and prick skin. A sharp yelp cuts the night as the animal jerks back. Good. Pain is the best teacher even for predators. The yelp triggers a chain reaction. More shapes materialize, drawn by the sound. Now Alex counts at least 5 distinct wolves circling at varying distances, their silhouettes ghostly against the snow. One bolder individual attempts to push through a thinner section of the barrier. Thorns rake across its muzzle, drawing blood. Another sharp cry, and it retreats, licking the wound. The message is clear. This target is fortified, and the cost is already too high. Bushcraft principle in action. Work with the environment, not against it. Those thorny branches weren't just random debris. They were deliberately selected for their defensive properties. In wolf country, a plain debris hut might invite curiosity. A thorn-reinforced one turns curiosity into aversion. Combined with fire and smoke, it creates layered deterrence. Visual barrier, physical pain, olfactory confusion, and primal fear of flame. Alex maintains noise discipline now, only feeding the fire when necessary and occasionally tapping his branch against the shelter frame to remind the pack he's still active and aware. Sudden loud noises can startle, but consistent presence asserts dominance. He also rotates his position slightly every few minutes, ensuring no single spot becomes a blind side. Mental strategy. Break the night into manageable segments. He tells himself, hold the line until midnight, then reassess. Compartmentalizing time prevents the overwhelming dread of an endless siege. Hypothermia remains the silent second enemy. Even with the fire and insulation, the cold seeps in during lulls between feeding the flames. Alex performs subtle isometric exercises, tensing muscles without large movement, to generate internal heat. He sips melted snow from his bottle, staying hydrated without leaving the shelter. Prepping lesson: your body is the ultimate survival tool. Neglect its needs and no amount of bushcraft will save you. Around what he guesses is 11 p.m., his watch fogged over hours ago, the pressure intensifies. The pack attempts a coordinated probe. 2 wolves feint from opposite sides while a third circles behind. Alex counters by tossing a burning ember just beyond the entrance. The sudden flare and hiss send the closest animal leaping backward. He follows with a deep, guttural shout, channeling every ounce of aggression he can muster. The sound echoes unnaturally loud in the snow-muffled forest, and for the first time, the wolves pause. One by one, they melt back into the darkness. But Alex knows better than to relax. Wolves are patient teachers of endurance. They'll wait for him to make a mistake. Let the fire die, fall asleep, attempt to leave at false dawn. The real battle now is psychological. Staying sharp through the deepest hours of the night when exhaustion and cold conspire to dull the mind. He begins quiet self-talk, recounting every step that got him here and every technique keeping him alive. It's a self-reliance ritual, reminding himself he's not helpless prey, but a thinking survivor who turned the forest's own weapons against its predators. The wolves will test him again before sunrise, and when they do, he'll be ready. Dawn breakthrough, final standoff, exfiltration, and survival lessons learned. The deepest hours of the night drag on like an eternity carved from ice. Alex fights waves of exhaustion, his body craving sleep while his mind refuses to yield. The fire has burned low twice already, each time forcing him to carefully feed it just enough to maintain deterrence without exhausting his limited fuel supply inside the shelter. The wolves have not launched another full probe, but their presence is constant. Occasional paw steps circling wider now, a low growl here, a testing huff there. They're waiting him out, betting on human frailty. But humans have one advantage wolves don't: foresight and adaptation. Around what Alex estimates as 4 a.m., judging by the slight lightening of the sky through the trees, the cold reaches its nadir. His fingers are numb despite constant flexing, and frost crystals have formed on the inside of the shelter where his breath meets the air. Hypothermia warning. This is the danger zone where decision-making impairs and the temptation to just rest for a minute becomes lethal. Alex counters with deliberate action. He performs a full-body shiver series, violently shaking to generate heat, then eats his last energy bar to stoke his internal furnace. Calories are fuel. In extreme cold, rationing food falsely can kill faster than starvation. As false dawn begins to paint the snow a ghostly blue-gray, the pack makes its final play. Emboldened by the long night or perhaps sensing weakness, the lead wolf, the same one with the scarred muzzle from earlier Thorn encounters, approaches boldly. It stops just outside the entrance, staring directly into the dying embers. For a tense moment, predator and survivor lock eyes across the fire. Alex responds instinctively. He grabs a burning branch from the coals and thrusts it forward, waving the flame in a wide arc while bellowing a deep, primal roar. The sudden burst of light and sound, combined with the human aggression, finally breaks the stalemate. The wolf flinches, backs away, and lets out a single sharp bark, almost like a signal of retreat. One by one, the shadowy forms withdraw into the trees, their paw prints fading into the deepening twilight. Alex waits a full 30 minutes after the last sound before daring to believe it's over. Self-reliance rule. Never trust an animal's departure at face value. Predators often circle back. Only when the first direct rays of sunlight filter through the branches does he allow himself to crawl out of the shelter. The forest is transformed. Pristine snow glittering under morning light, his thorn fortress standing exactly as he built it, now adorned with fresh wolf tracks circling at a respectful distance. Not a single breach. The hack worked beyond expectation. First priority upon emerging, rehydrate and assess. He melts snow over a newly built open fire, drinking deeply while scanning for landmarks. The cold night preserved his tracks leading in, and with daylight, navigation becomes possible. He orients himself using the sun's low angle and a distant ridge he remembers from the hike in. Prepping takeaway. Always note prominent terrain features on the way in, they're your lifeline out. The trek back to the trailhead takes most of the morning, every step deliberate to avoid post-adrenaline injury. Alex moves steadily, pausing only to harvest a few edible inner barks for energy, another bushcraft staple for extended scenarios. By midday, he reaches familiar ground and eventually the parking area, physically drained but very much alive. Looking back on that night, the lessons crystallize. Shelter location and construction can mean the difference between being prey or fortress. A basic debris hut saves you from weather. A reinforced one with natural deterrence saves you from predators. Fire is the ultimate multi-tool. Warmth, light, smoke for scent masking, and psychological dominance over animals that fear it. Layered defense beats any single solution. Thorns for pain, smoke for confusion, noise and aggression for intimidation, constant vigilance for endurance. Mental resilience is the true survival skill. The body follows where the mind leads. Finally, the ultimate warning. Respect the wilderness enough to prepare for its worst. One small navigational error turned a day hike into a life-or-death standoff. Carry the 10 essentials, tell someone your plans, and never underestimate the intelligence of apex predators. Alex couldn't believe a simple bushcraft shelter, built with nothing but a multi-tool, cordage, and materials from the forest floor, could withstand an entire night under siege by a wolf pack. But it did. And in doing so, it proved once again that self-reliance isn't about fancy gear or superhuman strength. It's about knowledge, adaptation, and the will to turn the environment's own tools into your salvation. Don't forget to subscribe the channel and hit the like button. Your one click give me motivation. Thanks.